Hi, everyone. Welcome. It's that time again for this week's episode of Everyday Enlightenment. Again, thank you, everybody, for sending in your questions. They're fantastic. Send them in to me directly, RJ at Ascend the Frequencies, or just go to ascendthefrequencies.com and fill out the contact form. And just as a reminder, if you have not purchased Supercharged Self Healing, my first book, do so. It will change your entire life in ways that even go beyond your health. Okay, so let's get to this week's question. This is fantastic. This is from Alessandro. Alessandro, thank you so much. Okay, I got my phone here, so I'm just gonna read this question and then I'll do my best to answer it. Okay, I'm getting to the question part. Okay, if I understand correctly, you say illness has its roots in false beliefs and attachments, or in other words, in thinking. My question is then, why animals and plants get sick? Why do newborn babies have disease? Isn't illness part of the game down here? Isn't it, like physical death, a necessary part of a physical form? Why do self-realized beings get sick? Ramana Maharshi was ill. So was Ram Dass. The Dalai Lama has physical ailments. The Buddha died because of food poisoning. I really want to read your opinion about this. Thank you very much in advance. Okay. Oh, what a great question. I could probably talk a long time on this. I won't torture you, so I'll try to keep it short. Okay. Let me work backwards. Okay. We talked about or you mentioned self-realized beings. Self-realized beings get sick and die, right? Okay. This is true, and some don't. And some do not. Okay? Let me give you an example. Paramahansa Yogananda. Those are, hopefully you're familiar with Paramahansa Yogananda. If you're not, please become familiar with Master Yogananda. Master Yogananda announced that he would be leaving his body the night before he left his body. He literally just left his body. He was not sick. He was not ill. He showed no signs of disease or sickness. He simply had completed his earthly tasks and literally just left his body. Okay? So, self-realized beings, certain self-realized beings, and maybe I'll name one or two, but certain self-realized beings have mastered this aspect of self-mastery. Okay, now you're absolutely right when you talk about death being a part of physical existence, because whatever has a beginning has an ending, right? What we need to understand is, what is it that gives birth to beginnings and endings? Okay, physical incarnations have a beginning and they have an end. Absolutely. Some self-realized beings, and this goes past self-realization, by the way, okay? Some beings that have been able to master aspects, true master aspects of themselves, what I call self-mastery in terms of healing, some of them, they certainly die, but they don't die through sickness or death. They just finished their earthly work and they leave their body. Paramahansa Yogananda is absolutely one of them. Master Saint Germain is absolutely one of those beings. He had a beginning of his incarnation and he had an end of his incarnation, but he did not get sick. He did not have disease. He simply left his body. Okay, so some beings just choose to be able to do that. Some beings have evolved to the point where they can actually do that. They don't even go through the death process or the sickness process. They just leave. Okay, so I hope that answers that part of that question. And I'll also add that if Buddha was really intent on healing himself, he would have. Okay. Animals and plants. Animals and plants get sick. Okay. We have to start to look at this is that the body needs something to trigger the termination point or an exit juncture. Okay, so something has to start to happen to the body in order for the consciousness that's inside to leave. Okay, so it's not necessarily that there has been faulty mental programming in terms of beliefs, concepts, and ideologies and attachments. It's just more that something has to occur to trigger the exit junctures, the termination points, so the incarnation can actually end. Okay, and for the incarnation to end, clearly it's the physical vehicle that allows us to experience physical reality. So something has to occur with the physical vehicle. There is a myriad ways in which we experience leaving this. I mean, that's in a way that's what sickness and disease is. It's just another way to leave. It's just another experience, and then another way to end the incarnation. All right, so when we start to look at it that way, it's not necessarily the dog or the cat had faulty belief systems. It's just more that at some point the body just has to start to break down to allow the consciousness to leave it, which is what we call death. Okay. And then there was another part in here, babies, children, right? Okay. So that's also a very interesting question. Now, I know I have directly interacted and had this experience. There are some souls that are going to be born, right? And they're never carried to term, and they're never actually have the physical incarnation. But well, that soul only wanted that experience, and that's exactly what it had. So it never actually even wanted the birth experience. It wanted to experience the being inside the womb. And that was all it really wanted to have. And so that soul was never actually birthed into existence because that was never part of its life plan. It never wanted that. So it's a choice. It's always a soul choice. It's always a soul choice. We are master creators. There are no victims here. Victimhood is a product of the unawakened mind. Period. Okay, and then young children that get very sick. That's twofold. Again, the soul wants to have that experience because we see the body that we're going to incarnate into. We can actually see all of its genetic information, all of its hereditary traits. We know everything going in before we slide into the suit. So we know everything. So a soul that's going to incarnate into, let's say, a certain suit that has an incredibly high propensity, I'll just pick cancer, incredibly high propensity for cancer, the soul knows that going in. It wants to have that experience. We have to stop viewing everything from a human perspective. That's, in a way, that's kind of what I'm talking about. We have to stop viewing everything from a human perspective. We understand very little when we use our five senses and our intellect. Okay, we have to awaken our higher mind. We have to detach, right? We have to detach and understand. So that soul simply wanted to have that experience. Some souls are carrying with them energies that have been misprogrammed, from my perspective, that have been misprogrammed. And part of that misprogramming will be an end result, will be sickness and disease because of the energies that they're carrying. We can even get birth defects from this. I've seen that with some souls. They're born with certain birth defects because there's some sort of deep-rooted misprogramming within themselves, and that ends up getting expressed within their form when they are birthed into the physical reality. So it can be something that we're carrying in terms of our own body of energy and misprogramming, or it can simply be something that has to do with the genetic makeup, the hereditary traits of the suit itself. But either way, it's what the soul wants to experience, and it's what the soul needs to experience. Always. If anyone is having any type of experience, which is perpetual, it's because that's exactly what needs to happen in that moment, because there's something that we need to learn within that experience, and that's why it's happening. Always. Always. And I don't want anyone to view sickness and disease and death as a negative. That's a judgment. It's just an experience. That's all it is. Just like everything else. It's just an experience. It's not good or bad. Those things don't exist. That's a subjective conditioned mind. I promise you. From a complete detachment and higher consciousness perspective, it's just life and various experiences. Now, just to come back to what I started with in terms of some self-realized beings becoming sick and dying, that's typical. Okay? Some self-realized beings are well aware of their life plan. They're well aware of when they're going to pass. They're well aware of lots of different things. And they don't feel the need to alter that because it's their own plan. Some self-realized beings can absolutely do it, without a doubt. I said as a little kid that if I ever get sick, I'll just heal myself. So I have, we'll say I've done this before. We'll put it that way without being too specific. So this is a remembering the higher consciousness metaphysics of self-healing and self-realization, how they actually work, right? So I have availed myself of these understandings before, I have utilized them before, and I'm utilizing them again as RJ. I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it yet again, and then offer it up in terms of tangible teachings for the rest of humanity, so you can do it as well. So we can all do it. Do we need to do it? Well, it's a good challenge. It's not a negative. It's not a negative. It's something to learn. It's something to experience. It's simply a moment. It's simply a moment. Experience yourself deeply. Be present all the time. And you never actually experience what we call death. You simply will move into a different reality. You'll move into a different state of consciousness. And Yogananda and Saint Germain, they understand that. They've mastered that. And eventually all of you will as well. Thank you very much. That was a great question. Like I said, I probably rambled. I could ramble a lot more about that. Maybe I will. Not today. but maybe I will. Thank you so much for the questions. Please keep them coming. Again, send them to rj@ascendthefrequencies.com or go to the contact form and just leave your question there. It's my pleasure. It's my joy. It's my honor. It is my love to be here. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I'll see you soon.